We have 12 minutes to go to the hour of 7 o'clock now. As I told you in our teaser in the morning report, been there, got out. What's that about? Well, we're joined this morning by co-directors of Been There, Got Out in Lisa Johnson and Chris Barry. Along with them is Robyn Parris of the OSS project team. Good morning, each of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you so much for coming through. Been there, got out. I'll start right there. What's that about?
Well, what we do is we offer expert strategic guidance to people who are dealing with high conflict relationships, divorce, custody battles, and co-parenting issues, so they have the best chance at a good outcome in court and beyond, just in life after such a horrific experience.
And that's because we heard so many harrowing stories really of people who in separating, divorcing, in moving away, of how they manage that process. And so this opportunity provides them a chance to be able to look at themselves again from outside perhaps and see how they can manage and mitigate against any fallout, especially when children are involved. Am I right?
Yes, yeah, those are the most painful ones.
Almost everybody who we have as a client, it involves children. It's not, we don't have clients who are fighting over a $3 million estate or something like that. It's the children that are most important.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. Well, Robyn Parris is a co-coordinator of the Family Law Training Seminar of the OSS project team. Robyn, give us from your perspective what you see when these situations occur.
Absolutely. So we set out with the intention with this seminar basically to bring our practicing attorneys in Barbados kind of up to speed as to what is going on internationally. Because in Barbados, we do actually have our laws amended to be able to facilitate some of the failings that are happening in the court system that people are experiencing, especially in the cases where relationships or the separation of relationships involve domestic violence. So we are seeing that there are a number of red flags, we'll call them, that are recognized internationally in terms of figuring out whether or not a divorce and separation is following a normal trajectory, or if indeed it is a high conflict one in which a perpetrator that was within the relationship that is now outside of the relationship is trying to continue to insert themselves into the victim's life as they go through the court system. And that's also helped by the court system, and therefore that's why it's so important for us to address it at that level.
And sometimes we're not able to discern those red flags. So is the seminar also to assist us in being able to spot it when it happens?
Absolutely. So this seminar, we are now on Thursday, we will be doing our 10th installment. We have basically gradually built attorneys through the process, first by describing what gender-based violence is, the international best standards. We have also talked about our own laws here, not only from a legal standpoint, but from the intention of the information in the law and the prescriptions, why they are so relevant when you are dealing with the case with domestic violence. And then, naturally it is evolving into what Chris and Lisa will be talking about tomorrow evening, which are these red flags that one can look out for. Because again, each case is very different, but high conflict personalities in the law system kind of follow a similar pattern. Mm-hmm. So will hopefully allow attorneys the ability to easily see where they are dealing with something that is maybe not just a normal separation and divorce case.
So Lisa and Chris, been there, got out. Why have you started?
Well, of course, because we had our own difficulties getting out of our own long-term marriages, and each of us share children with our exes. And we spent years and made mistakes along the way, but we hoped to save other people time, energy, and especially money from everything we've learned these past.
In your case, seven years, Lisa's been in the legal system.
Yes, I'm still in the legal system. Yeah, so we want others to avoid that pain and expense as much as possible.
So what are we not spotting? What are people who find themselves in situations similar to yours not quite getting right or not quite understanding?
Okay. Well, there's so much, but one of the big issues is what we're going to talk about a lot tomorrow, which involves coercive control. And this is more, a lot of people think that abuse or domestic violence is mostly physical, and somehow it doesn't count if you're not being battered. But coercive control is more of this long patterns of psychological abuse that usually at least 51% of victims don't understand that they're actually experiencing, because it's so insidious that it's happened over time. And this can involve like just long-term patterns, like I said, of threats and humiliation and intimidation, which isolate a victim, regulate their everyday behavior, and deprive them of independence. And the thing is, when this happens over time, it's not just another person doing it to someone, but we as victims internalize it and do it to ourselves. And we're always like, we know we're dealing with someone who's very unpredictable, so we'll start shifting our own behavior. A lot of times it's referred to walking on just to survive and protect ourselves, and especially to protect our children.
And over time, it actually changes the chemistry in your brain, which is shown in like studies for people in cults and things like that, where you just get completely unable to even recognize what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let's talk about the father, Chris. Sorry, go ahead, Lisa, you were saying?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Chris was saying too. It's like the chemistry of your brain actually changes with this type of psychological abuse, and it's like being brainwashed, as if you're in a cult, because you've internalized all these ever-changing rules and you adopt your behavior in order to survive a relationship. And children are the victims of this as well. And so I said before, it's like walking on eggshells.
One of the things you noted was that common misconception is that having both parents in a child's life is best, when safety of the child should be priority. And obviously the father is central to all of that. So Chris, talk to us a little bit about what we're hoping from that statement alone to be able to unearth so that people begin to heal.
Well, that's a whole topic on its own. My big thing is, in my divorce and separation, is I'm a father of two boys now who are 17 and 14, and it's the biggest, most important thing in my life. And I felt all through that, my divorce took 3 years, and throughout that process, my big fear was that that role's gonna be diminished, and it's gonna be, I'm just gonna see them once in a while. It worked out okay. I have about 50% custody approximately. And my role with my sons is protected. But from a male standpoint, there are a lot of biases in the court system, and they go both ways, right? It tends to, courts globally, not just in the U.S. but elsewhere, tend to be patriarchal. So in some cases, a man has an advantage. But in other cases, like where somebody like me, who it probably doesn't show on camera, but I'm 6'3", I weigh 230 pounds. I play college football here in the U.S. I'm a big guy, and my ex-wife is only 5'4", and she presents very she has the big doe eyes, and she looks very innocent. But yet in our situation, she was the abusive one. Well, I can't walk into court and say something like that. It just so like I said, the biases do go both ways.
And so, Robyn, the court system, the legal system in itself, what can the legal system do to assist those kinds of stories?
And I think the legal system is where we begin. There were a lot of people who asked why we weren't starting with police and why we weren't or going straight to the judges. But, as we talked about the last time we were with you, the lawyer is usually the first place that a victim will reach out for help. And so we're trying this kind of approach where we're arming our attorneys with the most up-to-date knowledge and with the case law to back it up, and then hoping that by going into the system and going through the system, that hopefully some of those best practices and some of that new information will organically make its way through the system. But in addition to that, it is also so very important for us to provide support to our victims and survivors. And again, that's why we are trying to arm lawyers with the ability not only to be better advocates for their clients, but also to, work with a more holistic approach and to involve more experts when they are going through the court system, whether it be a psychologist, a psychiatrist, an advocate, any sort of advisor, depending on the situation that is within the case. So we really are finding that our lawyers, while they did know the information, they maybe didn't understand the reasoning behind it, or maybe they didn't understand why a victim acts the way that they do. So all of this knowledge is just going to better help attorneys to not only do their job and to prove their case, but also in helping their clients to heal and move on from the abuse. Because as we know, one of the hardest times for a victim is when they leave the relationship, because at the end of the day, abuse is about control. So when the control is starting to wane and once that cord has been cut, that is usually when most of the damage occurs.
Boy. So it's called the Contentious Divorce or Separation. Violence lives here. That's the question. And so Been There, Got Out is hosting this tomorrow. So tell us a little bit about how people can be a part of it.
So right now, our primary focus was to offer this information to attorneys, but organically, we also had a number of law students who signed up. And again, that's incredible for us as well, because again, the knowledge is coming straight into the new attorneys and those who will be called to the bar. But we also have a number of concerned citizens who have reached out to us and joined individual sessions where they wanted to just get a little bit more knowledge. So I think that through the information and through not only giving it to the attorneys, but the organic way in which that information is spread to their colleagues, to their friends, we are really, hoping that we're punching above our belt here and making a big impact.
That's our hope as well. So beentheregotout.com, beentheregotout.com is where you can go to learn more, to hear more, to experience more, and perhaps share your story as well with Lisa and Chris. And certainly we hope that the attorneys turn out in good number to this seminar tomorrow to learn more about how we can really help with those contentious separations and divorces. And let's get out safely so the children are the beneficiaries as well. Thank you so very much, folks, for joining us this morning. Robyn Parris, co-coordinator of Family Law Training Seminar of the OSS project team. Lisa Johnson and Chris Barry, who are co-directors of Been There, Got Out, beentheregotout.com. Check it out today. Thank you so much.
Thank you
very much.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados will continue right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.